Ladies and gentlemen, fellas, welcome back to the channel today as we go over the top 5 running backs for 2020 fantasy football, and let's get into it right now. So number 1 is probably not going to shock you, and it is chalk, and it's pretty chalky, and I would let you know that the top 5 is not going to be chalky right when we get into number 2 actually, but the number 1 running back for me for 2020 fantasy football is Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey, oh, no shit, yes. But let's tell you why. Christian McCaffrey did not get to play in a lot of games last year. Only 3 games, and he re-injured himself in one of those games when he came back with a very, very, very annoying high ankle sprain. It doesn't linger past seasons, though. It lingers for that specific season. Just ask Michael Thomas, who got that week 1 of the NFL season and was never the same player the entire year. It usually takes a few months to recover from, and guys typically come back too early, i.e. Christian McCaffrey. But Christian McCaffrey in those 3 games led the NFL in snap percentage for running backs, so nothing changed there. 79%. He was number 3 in opportunity share. So he's still highly involved, and there's a couple of things to look at here. This was his first season with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator there, the former LSU offensive coordinator for that Joe Burrow championship winning team. And oh yeah, running back there, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a 55 reception season. And oh yeah, if you want to look at last season with Mike Davis was 4th in the NFL with receptions with 59. He had a 13.5% target share. That was number 5 in the NFL. So I get there's a difference here in quarterbacks now. Sam Darnold maybe can throw a little bit deeper than Mr. Teddy Checkdown, as he's nicknamed Teddy Bridgewater. But I think the offensive philosophy is to continue to throw to the running backs, especially when that man is Christian McCaffrey. And there's 64 million reasons why a 4-year extension given last year that you're going to see Christian McCaffrey continue to see high volume in the passing game, which is where we want to target him, assuming you're playing in a standard league, the half-point PPR. McCaffrey in those games where he played saw over 6 targets per game, so over 5.5 receptions per game, so he's still the status quo out there, and I'm not worried about the injuries that he had. It's not a torn ACL like some other guys that are going to be on this list have had it in the past. Now, there's no backfield competition for Christian McCaffrey. They did draft Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round, but this was a weak running back draft class, and Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round, he's a blazer. He has some speed. He had a really bad last season in Oklahoma State after having a really nice 2,000-yard plus season the year before that. He broke out as a sophomore in 2019, Chuba Hubbard, and he really didn't catch too many passes, 20 passes, had a lot of rushing yards, over 2,000 rushing yards, hurt his ankle in 2020, and was really not the same player since then. So I don't really think he's going to be much of a threat. He'll probably be the backup here because only Reggie Bonifant, an undrafted free agent, and guys like Trenton Cannon, a former 6th-round pick for the Jets, are in this backfield. So it's obviously Christian McCaffrey, again, should be the favorite to lead all running backs in the NFL in snap percentage. McCaffrey last year finished as the RB2, and the RB5. In the game where he finished as the RB5, he left in the 4th quarter. So he had 3 top 5 finishes when he was playing. Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 running back this year, and don't let anybody get cute and try and tell you otherwise. Now, my number 2 running back might actually surprise some people, and that's fine because I'm trying to let you know what I believe and project out to happen and what maybe would have happened last year if certain guys didn't get hurt on this fella's team, and that is Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott's my running back too. No, it's not Saquon. No, it's not Dalvin Cook. No, it's not Derrick Henry or whatever other name you want to throw out there. It is Ezekiel Elliott, and that is the correct answer. So let's just start here. Ezekiel Elliott last year just got 4 full games with Dak Prescott, and he barely got any of that with a full offensive line. The offensive line lost 4 pieces, 3 of which have been continuous year after year top 10 players at their respective positions. Even Tyron Smith, who was once the best player at his position in the NFL, is still a borderline top 15 to top 20 player at a loaded tackle position. Now, in those first 4 weeks of the season, Dallas had a bad defense, so you're going to run a lot of routes, right? He led the NFL for running backs with 35 routes run per game, Ezekiel Elliott. But their defense is still going to say similarly bad. They drafted Micah Parsons, a standout from Penn State linebacker, but it didn't really address the secondary needs that they had. They did that in the draft a little bit later on, but not to an extent where I think they're going to go from one of the worst secondaries, borderline bottom 5, to now being anywhere near league average. That would be probably the best case situation. So it's still going to be a bad defense, and you saw Zeke become a totally different pass catcher last year, very similar to his rookie year in some extents. He averaged 5.8 receptions per game and 7.8 targets per game for those first 4 fully healthy games of Dak Prescott and some of their offensive line pieces before the Ben DiNucci's and Andy Daltons of the world had to take over for this Dallas team. Very scary. In those weeks with Dak Prescott playing, he finished as RB3, RB7, RB13, RB15, and RB5. So you take that all together, he was a top 5 running back in those 5 weeks when Dak Prescott actually started a game for the Cowboys. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, even with having the far majority of the season a terrible offensive line, terrible quarterback play, he was still top 10 in red zone usage. He had 51 red zone touches. He had 13 goal line carries, 3rd in the NFL. He only cashed in on 2 of those. He only had 8 total touchdowns, some of which come in the receiving department. He is due for touchdown regression, especially when you take into account that this offense is looking like potentially the best offense in football with an MVP candidate in Dak Prescott coming back now and healthy. And when you take that all into consideration, you wrap it up and you put a bow on it, expect more goal line touches, more red zone usage, which is the big difference in who will be the top 2 running backs. Can you get in the end zone 12 to 14 plus times that year? Now, I know what people are saying, but Sal, the backfield competition is actually there with Tony Pollard. And I get it. Tony Pollard out of Memphis is a good player when he's had the opportunities like week 15 last year, where he was the RB1 in all of fantasy football when Ezekiel Elliott was hurt. He does look good, both in the passing game and on the ground. He looks elusive. He's a great yards per touch and efficient running back. The problem is he's never going to usurp Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. That's just not going to happen. And we've never really seen that happen, right? You date back to his rookie season. Oh, Sal, he had a big game against Miami earlier in the year. The game was a blowout. Look into the stats, fellas. The game was a blowout, and Zeke came off the field in the fourth quarter. Similar outcomes happened in 2019 in week 15 against the Rams. Zeke comes off the field, and you see a 30+% snap share for Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard's not going to play 50% of the snaps. He's probably not going to play 40% of the snaps. He'll stick in that 30 to 35% range. And Ezekiel Elliott, who people want to write off as still a young running back who is still getting loads of usage, last year was number 6 in snaps for running backs and number 9 in overall opportunity share, is still Zeke. They're still going to feed him out there with a healthy offensive line and Dak Prescott. Zeke's my RB2 this year. I'm expecting big things for this offense, and the running back is going to benefit. Now, as we get into my running back 3, I just want to let you know to like and subscribe to this video if you're enjoying this content. It really does help the video go a long way and let a lot of other people see it. The other thing that I want to let you know is that we do have a draft guide with all these player profiles, all the stats that you're seeing pop up. Those are included, as well as my top ranks, my tiers, my top 150s, key stats, database, reliability charts, a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the draft guide, and you can get it for free right now if you want to learn how to. Limited time offer. Link down below thanks to PrizePicks sponsoring it. You can check that out, the 2020 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, the Supreme Draft Guide. Check it out down below if you're interested in that one. Highly recommend it. My number 3 running back right now is the guy who a lot of people are putting number 2 this year, and I think it makes sense, and that's going to be Dalvin Cook. And there's one key difference, really 2 key differences between the Dalvin Cook and Zeke projections. Everything is great for Dalvin Cook, right? When he's healthy, and he's missed 2 games in each of the past seasons, he's missed his rookie season, a lot of games that year, 10 games. When he's actually healthy and on the field, he looks fantastic. There's probably no better running back in the NFL purely all around than Mr. Dalvin Cook. And last year, he really gave you a complete game from a fantasy standpoint. He became a game flow independent back last year with the receiving work. He had 6 games of 4+ receptions last season, the first time he's ever done that anywhere near that in his career. He averaged 3 receptions per game and 4 targets per game, and he really became a game flow independent back. Even if Minnesota was down, there was still a really good chance that he was going to contribute in the receiving game, and he's insanely efficient. This was the number 2 overall evaded tackles player, even though he missed 2 games last year. He was number 5 in yards created. He led the NFL in goal line carries inside the 10-yard line and also red zone touches inside the 20-yard line, and that's why he scored 17 touchdowns on the year. So that's obviously potentially going to regress backwards. You saw the year before that, Aaron Jones scores 19 touchdowns. He doesn't score that many the following year. It's hard to follow that season up, right? So there's the first reason, and these guys are also close. They're the best of the best. But there's the first reason why Zeke is ahead of Dalvin Cook. I'm actually projecting Zeke to lead the league in goal line touches inside the 10 and red zone touches this year. I'm projecting Dalvin Cook to be up there, but not as high. You're not going to project Dalvin Cook for 17 touchdowns. Zeke had 8 touchdowns last year, Dalvin Cook 17. You don't have to flip those numbers, but if you just give Zeke 12 to 14, Dalvin Cook 10 to 12, that's where you start to give the edge. So a better offense, what I expect this year, when you're going to see Dak was going to set records last year. Dallas Cowboys offense was the best offense in NFL history through 4 games in terms of overall yardage and scoring. So assuming we get the similar Dak Prescott and the same Dak Prescott, that's why I give the lean there to Zeke. And also, the offensive line is going to be healthier for Zeke. This is a bottom third of the league offensive line, and it has been for a while for Minnesota. That's your issue with Dalvin Cook. He could do a lot of things on his own. He could break a lot of tackles, but last year he benefited from a lot of goal line work, a lot of efficient offense. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson teaming up for the first time last year, and that helped him score some touchdowns, and overall the volume that he was being fed was great. The offensive line was bad, and it's going to be bad again. They did draft Christian Darrisaw. They traded down in the first round, got some additional draft capital. Nice job by their general manager there in their organization, and they still got the guy that they wanted. So that's good to see. Added a center in free agency, as you can see on the screen right now, some of the things that they did this offseason. And they added another offensive line in Wyatt Davis, an offensive guard, later on in the draft. So that's kind of what they did to bolster, or at least try to bolster this offensive line. So I'm giving the nod to Zeke from offensive line, overall offense and ability to get closer to the red zone. And then also just the fact that he's playing with a better quarterback, in my opinion, Dak Prescott over Kirk Cousins, if we want to split some hairs there. And he's going to be playing with a worse defense. Minnesota's defense is not great either. They were both terrible the secondary last year. Minnesota seemed to get a little bit better as the year went on there, played a little bit more zone, where Dallas was just absolutely terrible. So bad defenses, I mean, you have to throw a little bit more routes run, score a lot more points, play from behind, as you saw for the first month of the season with Dallas last year. So it's very close, but that's why Dalvin Cook, really nothing against him, maybe a little bit more injury prone as well as a knock against him compared to Zeke. not much difference there outside of what their projected offenses and teams will look like this year. And my number 3 running back is still a fantastic spot. I'd just be taking Zeke over him. And now my number 4 running back, who was my number 2 running back last year, 1A, 1B actually. They were both in the same tier. I gave them both number 1, and that's going to be Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants, coming off of a torn ACL. Listen, he did not get his surgery immediately after that happened. He tore his ACL early on in the season, and it took him a little while because the swelling and the inflammation had to go down. It was a really bad tear. He tore a couple things. The entire knee, every single ligament you could possibly tear, he tore. And not many guys have come back from that. But also we're looking at a trend of modern medicine getting better. And now more and more guys like a Joe Burrow, tore everything in his knee, are going to be at least having a better chance than guys 10 and 15 years ago, of course. But the surgery came a while after, which is going to kind of change some things in terms of how healthy he will be. They're saying he should be ready for week 1, but just watch reports there. So as of right now, that's why he's going to be dropped a little bit lower, as well as some other same old story stuff. And that same old story is bad quarterback, probably overall bad team, projected for 7 wins this year, and bad offensive line. They took the 4th overall pick in last year's draft, Andrew Thomas, and out of all the offensive linemen in the first round, Mekhi Becton, Tristan Wirfs, right? These guys that went to Tampa and the Jets, they made the wrong decision. Andrew Thomas was bad last year. Now, he was banged up, but he was bad last year. He was also a rookie. You can improve upon that, but this offensive line for the Giants is not good. And you see Saquon Barkley, he relies on home run hitting to really get you there. And I love Saquon Barkley. We saw what he did his rookie year, over 2,000 total yards. But remember, that was with Eli Manning. That was with a different overall coaching staff as well. Not one that comes in wanting to run the ball in Joe Judge. Not one that lacks creativity in Jason Garrett. They want to run the ball. And you see Daniel Jones being a lot less likely to check down than Eli Manning was. Eli Manning was checking down 14 times a motherfucking game at some points during the year to Saquon Barkley. So he's not going to have that same overall PPR upside as he did the year when he was a rookie. So there's some differences there. And I love Saquon. I'm a fellow Penn Stater. You can see in the background right now. But we have to take those biases out of this. The offensive line is atrocious, and it's not going to get any better this year. It does not look like it's going to get better. You can see the offseason additions that they made. They didn't take an offensive lineman in the draft. They really didn't sign anybody. They signed Zach Fulton in free agency. Not going to help you. They lost some guys in free agency who weren't good for them, and Cam Fleming and Kevin Zeitler. But this offensive line, as you can see some of the key stats on the screen right now on the video version, ranked 23rd in run blocking last year. Again, Andrew Thomas allowed 14 more pressures than anybody else at the left tackle position. Now, that's in the passing game, but that just shows you how bad he was last year in his rookie season. Not good. Nate Soldier was one of the worst right tackles in the league, allowing top 5 pressure rates on that side. And look, pressure rates are for quarterbacks, but that means they're also getting through as well and making tackles for losses on your running backs. So Saquon Barkley has never had any space at all. He got it his rookie year in the passing game. He relies on home runs, and that's not something you want to rely on with a top 3 pick in your draft. I'm fine at number 4, but the top 3, take somebody a little bit more secure in my opinion. Saquon Barkley's backfield competition, you shouldn't worry about it. They lost Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman, who last year at one point actually had 6 straight weeks of top 20 finishes. So keep that in mind a little bit at least. Running back still had production in this offense, but it was very touchdown heavy for Wayne Gallman. Very touchdown heavy for Wayne Gallman. It was not that efficient by any means, right? He was like outside the top 40 in yards per touch. So keep that in mind as well, but still got there. But Devonte Booker now replaces Wayne Gallman. Gallman to San Francisco, Booker from Denver, and they're kind of the same player, to be honest with you. Booker got a lot of opportunity last year, but he only averaged 4.6 yards per touch. You can see the full backfield competition right now on the screen. You're not worried about it. Saquon Barkley is going to come back and be the workhorse in this backfield. He's my number 4 running back right now. Now, there's your top 4 running backs early on. We're going to have more videos. We're going to go 5 through 8. We're going to go 9 through 12 for all the top ones right there. And we'll go all the way out to the running back 20s. So check out the rest of these ranks as we continue to go through them. I appreciate you a ton for being here. Like and subscribe before you go. The biggest thing that you can do. Like, subscribe, notification bell as we continue to pump out the daily videos for the NFL Fantasy Football 2021 season. I appreciate you all being here. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the preseason to cover those games, break those down, and give you even more schmacks. Check out the draft guide listed down below as well if you want to check it out and try and get it for free. Limited time offer only right now. In the description below, you can check it out. You all rock. I'll see you all on the next one, everybody. Hey. Have a good one.